still this problem of sin in the nation of Israel. But today we look at, when we move into chapter 20 and 21, we look at God's grace so abounding yet. One, know what's happening. Also understand, what I'm speaking. So yes, so one of the biblical commentators, they write this: a great moral passion flamed out, that about chapter 20 and 21. Underneath all the degeneracy was a true stratum of religious conviction, which in the presence of the iniquity of men of Gibeah sprang up to life and action. So what he means by that is, we see in chapter 19 at what happened to the concubine. We see once again almost a mirror of what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah. And we see the heart of man was really wicked, so wicked that they didn't know what was different between right and wrong. And we also see men over there, for the Levite, who was selfish, who didn't care, who cared more about himself. So once again here, but at the end of it, we last week when we ended, one of the questions was a concubine live or dead? But in this chapter, we know that he says she was dead. So with her horribly abused by men, and we see the actions of the Levite, which provoked all nations, called the nations to come together. So here, after listening to what happened at Gibeah, what the men had done in Israel, in the nation of Israel, all the nations came together to stand up against the sin of the Benjamites. Right? It was a town of Benjamin, right? That happened. So there was a call once again, the Levite, it was a Levite of the time. We says, it's not my problem, right? The nation of Israel would have said, boss, it's not my problem that this happened. But yet here we see the nation of Israel, really it hit their conscience, and we see them coming together. More than a national call, to righteousness, it was more of repentance and really a call for righteousness there. So here once again really points to us as the men of Israel knew that sin is reproach to any nation, and they stood against sin. We should also do today that. We should stand against sin. That we should not be people who are quiet. As Christians, we are called, like even last week I told you, that as Christians we are called to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly before God. So how can we do justice when we are just quiet? It's basically saying, okay, you do wrong, it's your problem. I'm just going to turn my blind eye, saying that it's almost saying I'm okay for what you're doing. So as the church, I think there's such greater need for the church to stand up for social injustice that happens. Moral injustice, protest, but moral injustice also happens. So what is the church called to do? Is the church called to just sit quietly? So we stand up and say that is wrong, and we ask for. I'm not saying you have to take up knives, you have to take up guns and go and do, but really to fight for justice. Fight for justice and call for justice for the judicial system that is there in the country. So, of course, we can go more deep into it, but not today. But so here we see the people of Israel, the nation of Israel, coming together, unified, standing against the sin that was committed. So the leaders and all the people and all the tribes of Israel presented themselves. Right? In Deuteronomy chapter 13, verse 12 to 18, Israelites were instructed how to deal with such abomination among them. That's in Deuteronomy chapter 13, verses 12 to 18. It said that they must first test the accusations. So what do? They say, that call the Levite, tell us what happened. Right? So they don't just say, okay, let's gather, let's go fight. No, they call the Levite and ask him what happened at Gibeah. And so the charges, as much as the charges were true, they must then utterly, once the charges are true, once they have qualified that, saying, yes, what you're saying is true, then it's the law that's written in Deuteronomy chapter 13 is that they must utterly destroy those who have committed such abomination. Basically, capital, thing that can cause restlessness, they can cause war within the nation. So we see because of disunity that there was civil war that started. So when they called for, when the people of Israel said, we as people arise as one man, as one mind, as one heart towards for justice. Often the church is also called to come as one body. Often we are because of disunity, we see not all churches come together. Not every Christian wants to be a part of it. Everybody wants like, oh, I don't know, because see, we don't see, not everyone sees in the same way. There's no unity within the community of believers. So in the words, as they said, none of us will go to, so when you repent of this zeal, even in the cause of righteousness, often goes beyond its proper limits. So we see a foolish oath at the starting of chapter 21, where they decide, they swore an oath at Mizpah, saying, none of us will give our daughters to the Benjamins. And now they cry out to God, why is there just 11? Why should be one less? And often it almost feels like God is saying, man, you make the choice and you blame it on me. And often we have to be very careful of the choices that we make and the oaths that we make. And he didn't. Yes, here we see so in case of Saul, it was very different, where God had told them, go destroy all of them. Because of the oath that they made, they can't give their daughters to them. They can't even tell them, okay, go marry some other nations, because God told them, don't marry any other nations, but only within the nation of Israel. So they are now confused. It's like, okay, we have brought upon ourselves. So we have brought upon people. It's not just words, but it's really an oath that you take on the day of marriage. And that is so important for us to remember. And so often, and we see over here that the people of Israel are regretting. So the next we see is there will be a division when sin is practiced and tolerated among God's people, when fighting exists among God's people. Once again we see now the people of Israel are really wondering what to do. And they say, okay, who among us have not, joined us? Who among us has not gathered over here? So they discover in verse 8. So reading from verse 8 in chapter 21. Then they asked which one of the tribes of Israel failed to assemble before the Lord at Mizpah. They discovered that no one from Jabesh Gilead had come to the camp for the assembly. For when they counted the people, they found that no one of the people of Gilead were there. Now again, once again, we see a division. We see